My name's Juliette Hanauer, and today my guest is Markus Scott-Alexander, and he is the director of World Arts Organization and the founder of Expressive Arts Without Borders. Markus, my first question for you is, you have been doing this work for 40 years, and you're a leader in the field, globally recognized. Everyone wants you at their conferences. And why did you start Expressive Arts Without Borders?
I think everything I do, Juliette, is almost completely intuitive. I didn't think about it. Sort of the name came. I was sitting there and the name came Expressive Arts Without Borders. And I said, oh, that sounds good. So I called the person who's been doing my website for World Arts Organization and said, let's start a website called Expressive Arts Without Borders. They did a Facebook page. So it started with just this little idea because I think after COVID, more and more people were feeling isolated. So I thought, oh, this is a great way to create community through Zoom.
So the little idea that you had was to create community using the arts.
Yes. And that it didn't have to be specialists in the field, that it's just people who really resonated with working with the arts to move through our difficulties. So I thought, oh, maybe we'll have 500 people. And now there's almost 6,000 people who've joined. It's been about 14 months or so. And yeah, attracting such a range of, of folks who are from about 50 countries.
And tell me a little bit about what you do.
I think I help people relax into what precedes all their efforting to be creative and say, well, the arts are just an arena for you to relax into a kind of deep play, to be you. And then the set yourself, which is a construct, says, oh, I like you. And then you sort of your essence, your playful you starts to infiltrate yourself. And then the self starts to change and be more and more like you. And the arts are a great bridge for coming back to you and then to come from you into yourself through art making and then from yourself into the world. And what I've noticed is that some art modalities take you back, like playing the piano takes me in and singing takes me out. So just working with people to help them identify what way of being, particularly which art forms help you come home, and what art forms help you to connect with others.
Wow. So when these are all meetings on Zoom?
Yeah, we've been meeting once a month. I've been doing these. I said, oh, we can do a free workshop. And we've done 12 now and another one coming up. And all of these folks that I've known for all these years say, yeah, I'd love to do a free workshop with you. So I'm in every one of them and co-facilitating with leaders in the field uh, who just want to hang out with these international gatherings. It's just an hour and a half and give people a glimpse into ways of celebrating um, our ability to connect uh, within us and between us at the same time. So that people are going in while we're in these Zoom classes. There might be 70 in a class. Uh, so we're all connecting within us. And then in the breakout rooms and small groups, and then the whole group, and then we put it on the Facebook page, and then thousands of people get a sense of how to really take care of ourselves and each other during these incredibly difficult times in in a way that uses our imagination.
And is this international?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people talk about working cross-culturally, and that certainly is an aspect of it. We have so many cultures involved in this. Aisha Radwan from Egypt and Gopika Dhanuka from India are the co-chairs of this international committee that gets together once a month to talk about the direction we're going in. And we're going to create a magazine that'll come out shortly called Lila, sort of the joy of life or the play of life, and with articles from folks from several countries doing interesting things. So yeah, quite international. But besides it being cross-cultural, I think of it as pre-cultural. Who are we before we're culturated? How do we get to our shared essence?
What impresses me is that there's 40 different countries participating on a monthly basis.
So many, yeah. Um, Sometimes more, sometimes less, but the feeling always is how much we have in common when we post on Facebook about, loss, breakthroughs, how we're working on our own healing, things we're doing in community. It just feels like we have so much in common, so many shared values as people interested in the role of the arts in healing.
I had an experience in one of your breakout rooms where we were talking about seasoning for food. And there were three of us, and we were sharing what seasoning we use. And what we discovered that all three of us from three different countries use the same seasoning, and our seasoning cabinet was organized the same way. It was such a moment of, I can't believe it. We all talk about our commonality, but when it comes right down to your shelving in the kitchen and how you organize your seasonings, it was really awesome. So I like the breakout rooms are an opportunity to really share with each other and get to know it with each other. It's great being in the big group. I love that. And I love having music. And when you talk about how you use music in the workshops.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is to come together and experience ourselves and each other in a nurturing way. And one of the ways that music has come into our gatherings is I've included Linda Wooster, who's a well-known singer-songwriter. And she and I were doing workshops together back when I was living in New York. Uh, I immigrated from New York to Edmonton, Canada over 20 years ago with my wife, Lena. But so Linda has been in every one of our free workshops. She plays the guitar beautifully, and as a singer-songwriter, she brings so much heart. So it's just like your seasonings, how it's not about the art, it's about the delight in our resonance. And I think people resonate so much with Linda and where she's coming from that it's her music is a way for her to establish resonance with everyone and then with each other. I think music is an incredible way to establish resonance. And Linda's music is so heartful and so nurturing that having her there has been an incredible gift.
Wow, that's gorgeous. And what kind of art forms do you do with participants on Zoom? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, when I find someone who wants to co-facilitate me, we meet and we say, what would be fun? What would be enjoyable? And I worked once with someone who said, well, let's do art journaling. I art journal, I collage. Instead of writing in my journal, I collage and then do a little writing. I said, oh, that's a great, let's do that. Or someone else will say, I'd like to do mandalas, but I don't want to do it with paint. I want to do it with objects from nature. I say, okay,
Oh,
great. So we'll tell people to bring objects from nature and we'll make mandalas. So each person, we get together, we talk, and we think, well, what would be fun? And of course, if we're having fun doing it, it's sort of infectious that people sort of get into it. And we try to do things that don't require a lot of skill. This isn't for skilled artists. This is with a little bit of skill and a lot of sensitivity. We just kind of explore it together. And the emphasis is not on the technique. It's just on enjoying the process and yeah, connecting with the moment. And we're all in this moment together. So it's sort of like the art form itself is secondary and the enjoyment of whatever we're doing is primary.
Wow. Um, and what I like about what you're saying is that the materials that you use to make art are in the household. These are not esoteric things. These are things that everybody has in their home, like string or paper or crayons or pencils or pens. Yes. So what do you see next? Where would you like to go?
One of the things I'm interested in, Juliette, is the right use of intellect, which is why I've created this magazine. So myself and uh, Rivka from India, we're co-editing this, and we're eliciting articles from members of Expressive Arts Without Borders to hear their stories and for us to think about how do we respond to the difficulties of the world kindly, intelligently, creatively. So I would say my next thing is to find the joy of making sense. You know, this rhythm, make art and make sense, make art, make sense. So together, see, how does the arts play a role in us making sense of how to respond to the challenges and to hear from people around the world, how are you responding to the challenges that you have in your life and what does it look like? And the first article came in, which will be in the second issue of Leela magazine, about a woman whose son passed at age 20. And she began quilting, and her first quilt was honoring her son, and she tells the story of how her lifelong love of quilting began then, and she's now in her 80s and still
Oh,
quilting, and it's just a lovely article. So we want articles that both touch the heart and have us pause and give thought to the beauty of responding to challenges with creativity.
so anyone can send you an article?
At some point, we're going to announce a kind of a theme, and people who resonate with the theme, yeah, we're going to encourage them to do a little writing, not in a way to present, but for them to explore through the writing. We like the quality of the magazine to be, oh, I'm exploring this and I'm exploring that, versus I'm presenting these ideas, but rather, this is what I'm exploring. So to invite people to write down and maybe have some images to share of, well, what are you exploring these days about what nurtures you and how you're taking care of yourself and those around you in the midst of a world that's in a fair bit of turmoil.
I love that. Again, it's not technical. This is not like a journal. This is like for everyone.
Exactly.
And also, I know that you have a book and it's being published in other languages. Can you talk about your book a little bit?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to come out in Japanese soon, and yeah, I created it with the artist Karen Queller, and it's quite visual. The book before this was quite in depth and really for expressive arts practitioners and educators, expressive arts education and therapy, it's called. But this one is called The Just Right Next. And it really is just me wanting to say what I've learned over the last 40 years about how to make choices uh, in our hearts and then how to make decisions in our everyday life that support the choices we made in our hearts. So this distinction between take care of your decisions, make sure your decisions come out of certain choices you made in your heart for what you would like in your life. So it's about 60 very simple, short paragraphs with a beautiful image that Karen created. Yeah, and that's the book. And you open up to anywhere and see, what touches you that day.
And
Very,
it's available on Amazon.com.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And you said it's in Japanese, but is it in any other language?
Folks are working on it. Yeah, but not out yet because this is a fairly new project. But I'm looking forward to it. Actually, why I'd like to see it in several languages, I just like the aesthetic of seeing thoughts in different languages. I often say to people, English isn't the first language. Something moves in me, and then I see if I can translate it into English. And the English writing has its own aesthetic. And, when I saw it in Japanese and in these other languages, I'm eager also to see it in as many languages as possible because the aesthetic of the visual affects our response. And I'm just curious, just for myself, to see how seeing it in another language touches me in another way, even if I don't, quote, understand it by looking at it. There's something about just the aesthetic of all our different languages as part of the theme of Expressive Arts Without Borders, and that we can understand each other through aesthetics. And
Wow, what a
you know,
concept.
well, the aesthetics of using the same spice, and each of you organized on your shelf. The aesthetic of that created a bridge. That
Yes.
aesthetic created a bridge, a very
Oh,
similar way.
it was phenomenal. It was so an exceptional experience for me.
And that's one of the things that I'm loving about this Expressive Arts Without Borders and getting together in the breakout rooms is it's not about art making. It really is about truly meeting. And the arts are one of the vehicles, but there you have the opportunity to actually have spices be the vehicle for truly meeting. And I've had a lifelong interest in the phenomenon of intimacy. I'm a phenomenological psychotherapist, not a psychological psychotherapist. I don't really need to understand a lot, but really, my question is, what are you noticing? And so you noticed something, and that created not only an intimacy between you, but what made the intimacy was you were all sharing the same moment. How intimate, how much more intimate can it get than actually all of you sharing that same beautiful moment of, wow, isn't this cool? So it's
Yes,
by
yes,
sharing the moment.
yes. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close today?
I just that I'm grateful for folks like you, Juliette, who not only reach out and have a long history of reaching out, but as a human being, you're so reachable. So something like this becomes a joy because I sense that what I say actually lands in you, and that's what we all want also, not only to reach out, but to tell people speak to me, share with me. I'm reachable. I'm here. And that creates this interchange that no one has to feel burnt out because, oh, I'm reaching out so much. Rather than saying, I'm really loving reaching out, but I'm also loving the fact that I am reached all day by so much love and beauty. So yeah, that's why I want to say thank you for your incredible reachability as a human being.
And thank you for creating a forum where we could have these experiences.
Mm, wonderful.
Thank you for being my guest today.